as some of you may know, Easter is coming up.
Woo!
So we thought we'd do an Easter themed challenge. So the challenge is to eat the egg, but you're not allowed to use your hands. Your hands can only touch the plate to turn your egg around if you need it to. You've even got to get the wrapper off. Ready? Ready?
Quickest wins.
Yeah. First one to eat the whole egg wins. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh!
I'm dribbling everywhere.
He uses a chin to break an Easter egg.
No.
You sound like a pig.
So dribble. Oh no! Oh no! 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 Ah! Ah!
Joel wins that round. Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube video. This is an Easter special as we are coming up to Easter. So I am joined by the wonderful Kathryn Stevens.
Hello.
Are you well?
I'm very good, thank you, Rachel. Are you?
Yes, very well, thank you.
Good.
It's lovely to have you with us as our special guest this week. As always, when I have a special guest, I ask them a silly question.
Okay.
So on the Easter theme, this question is, who would win in a fight, Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, and why?
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, is the Easter Bunny fully grown?
I mean,
Whenever I've seen an Easter Bunny in a film, they're like adult size.
I always imagine like an adult sized,
Yeah.
like a human sized bunny.
Yes. I think Santa Claus is probably quite a robust character. So I think he's got a good chance. However, I don't think Santa Claus would bite, and I think the Easter Bunny could.
The Easter Bunny would probably have
And a good kick. So I think the Easter Bunny probably has a bit of a hard side to him,
fiery.
or
so.
her, or it. So I'm gonna say the Easter Bunny.
Final answer?
Yes, and the Easter Bunny can also throw eggs, which has got to be a help in any fight, I think.
Okay. On that note, I think we better get stuck in
Yes.
with the actual questions for
Are
this
the next
week.
questions easier?
We'll see.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Hopefully for you, at least.
All right,
anyway. Okay, so here is the first question.
Right, why is Easter so special? For me, Easter is the key moment in the Christian story, alongside Christmas, obviously, because if it wasn't Christmas, there wouldn't be an Easter. If Jesus hadn't been born, then Easter couldn't have happened. But without Easter, then would the significance of Jesus' birth be anything? So for me,
Okay.
Easter is just so special because it tells about the extent that God would go to be able to help us to know God. So we kind of believe that Jesus dying on the cross was the opportunity to make sure that all of us could know God's forgiveness for the rubbish in the world, for the rubbish in our own lives, know God's forgiveness, and therefore be able to be in a relationship with God. We kind of believe that human beings were created to be in a relationship with God.
Yeah.
So Easter makes that possible.
Yeah, it puts everything else in the year, in the Christian year, into perspective, doesn't it? It brings everything back to why.
Yeah.
Why this is how we act. This is how we do life. It just brings everything.
It does.
Into that, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. What does Easter mean to me? Well, I guess I've talked about why Easter's so special, but that's kind of an answer out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it makes a relationship with God possible for people, but actually that includes me. So it reminds me that I can know what it is to live life with God, and to know that God is with me all the time, whatever's going on in life, whether things are really nice and easy and I'm happy, I'm in a happy place, or whether things are really hard and difficult, I'm in a sad place. Actually, that God knows what it is to go through happy times and sad times, because Jesus did all of those kind of things. He knows what it is ultimately to travel a really, really hard path, because that's what Easter tells us about, that the path to the cross was just must have been the most awful experience for Jesus, but he did it anyway. And so it's so special for me, because it reminds me that God in Jesus was willing to go to the most extreme things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much more extreme than crucifixion, is there?
Yeah.
To be able to let me know that I matter to God. So it's not about just out there for other people, it's about like in here for me. Gosh, because it was dramatic, wasn't it? And it's like, it's kind of as you think through the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, like, it is a really dramatic story.
Yeah. Sometimes I think we forget that it actually happened. Sometimes we read it and just think it's a story.
Yeah.
like we've seen in a film or something, but it actually happened.
It actually happened, yeah.
And
yeah.
it's unimaginable sometimes,
But,
I think.
Yeah, and it is for us because actually the idea of crucifixion is so far removed from our experience, isn't it? I mean, it's just, we can't even imagine it. But I mean, at a time when actually crucifixion was one of the ways that they punished people, I mean, it's just brutal, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's just awful. I think it was so dramatic, and I think the fact it was so dramatic, again, I guess I said a little bit of this before, but it shows the extent of God's love for people, that Jesus was willing to go to the cross, to suffer that massively dramatic and horrific death. It just talks about the extents that God would go to for that ability to be in relationship with human beings to be in relationship with God. And I suppose if it hadn't been such a dramatic account, then would it have the same power to really speak into our lives about how big God's love is for the world? And that's just the death of Jesus. I haven't even talked about the resurrection, because I mean that's a massively dramatic moment, isn't it? And if we look back over our Bible, then we see that it was, the prophets long before Jesus was born talked about, someone coming and suffering in this way. But I think that the drama of it reminds us of the extent of God's love, what He's willing to do. It's really hard because I think right through the story, so we kind of trace the Easter story right from Palm Sunday, and then you go into, so that's when Jesus came into Jerusalem and everyone welcomed him, hailed him as like a king, really. And then you have that Last Supper with his disciples when he actually washed their feet, and that was dramatic, really moving. And he said to them, that you have to do this for others. And then you've got the betrayal, and the denial of Peter denying he knew Jesus, and the arrest, and Jesus being crucified. I think that's all really dramatic. But for me, I think one of the most moving bits for me is it's actually on Easter Sunday, and it's one of the accounts in the Gospel, and it's Mary, is friends with Jesus, and she goes to anoint Jesus' body to give him a proper burial, to honour his body, I suppose. She went to the tomb, and of course his body's not there, and she's so confused and so upset and just deep in grief. And Jesus, she sees someone, but she thinks it's a gardener, and then he says her name. He says Mary, and then she knows who it is. And I find that really moving, because it reminds me that when life is just all messed up and you don't know where you are and you don't know what you're doing, God can call our name, and for me that calls me back to God. Like, if God says Rachel, or Kathryn, or whatever your name is, put your name in there, and like that's God calling out to you to know that He's there, and to know that He's with you. That means a lot to me.
Like the whole Easter story happened for like you specifically, and it's not, sometimes you might think, oh, I'm not good enough, or Jesus doesn't care about me in that particular way, but actually no, the whole thing comes back to you, and it's a personal thing. And I think that's really powerful to remember sometimes, is that He did all of this for you.
Absolutely. There's a saying that I think you should have on a poster years ago or something, that said, even if there was just one person in the world, Jesus still would have died. And it's like, that's like, oh wow, okay, this is
really
actually
powerful.
personal. And so for me, we can either leave the story out there, or we can think, actually that needs a response. Do you know what's my response to that? If that's not just about what Jesus has done for other people, but it's about what Jesus has done for me, how do I want to respond to that? What do I want to do with that knowledge? what can that mean for me in my life.
Yeah, and that brings us on to our final question.
Okay.
Which is, how can we ever repay Jesus for what he did?
I don't think we can repay Jesus for what he did, and I think, but I think we can make choices that honour who God is.
Okay.
So for me, I choose to live a Christian life. I've chosen to dedicate my time and my energy and my money and my, do you know, all that I am. I've chosen to dedicate to God, not to repay him, because I can't do that, and it's a free. God's love is a free gift anyway. Actually, he's gonna love you, and he loves you, and he loves me. He loves you, and he loves me, regardless of whether I love him back.
Yeah.
But such a massive love, I think, asks of a response, and for me the response is giving everything I am to God. I want to serve God. I want to love God. I want to show that in my life, and I think that the way I try and do that is by trying to love people with something of the love that God has for them. I'll never achieve that fully, but you know, that's kind of my hope. That's kind of what I want to do. Honor Christ's sacrifice.
Yeah.
By loving God's people and trying to help them to see what this can mean for them as well.
So if anyone is watching this that hasn't given their life to Jesus before, what would you say to them?
I think I would say that for me, I decided to become a Christian, to give my life to God, even though I've been brought up in the church. But I can't remember, I was about 12 or 13, and I knew all about the stories because I'd been brought up in the church. I could have told you all the stories in the Bible and stuff. I was dragged along to church all the time. I didn't mind, but that was my life. But I met a group of people who talked about their faith in a way that I thought, I don't know Jesus like they do, and I wanted to, and so I made a decision then. And you know, I've heard people say, you know, young people don't know the commitment they're making. I absolutely knew the commitment I was making. You know, I knew that when I chose to follow Jesus, that was a commitment I was making for the rest of my life. And I have.
Yeah.
I haven't always got it right. You know, sometimes I've questioned God. Sometimes I've wondered, God, where are you in the middle of all of this? You know, if things have been tough or whatever. But that's what I would say, that actually to give your life to Jesus is the most incredible adventure.
Yeah.
And just to know that actually whatever's happening in life, or whatever decisions you need to make in life, if you're following God, then actually you're not making those decisions on your own by yourself. You've got this bigger lens that you look through about what God's plans and purposes are for your life. It reminds you that you're part of something bigger, because actually to follow Christ, you're part of the church family as well, so you're part of something bigger. But also that the promise from God is that actually he'll be with us forever.
Yeah.
And so this life is not all there is. You know, we've got heaven, we've got the promise of heaven, which is another adventure altogether, isn't it? That none of us really know quite what that's going to be like. But why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
Thank you so much. So if any of you guys are watching, I've heard something from Kathryn today that has sparked something in your heart, then please reach out to us. Maybe leave a comment below, or send us a message, or chat to us on a Tuesday night, because we would love to chat more with you about this massive
adventure.
Yes, indeed. So that brings us to the end of this week's video. Thank you so much,
Thank
Kathryn,
you for having me.
us.
I shall come again if you have me sometime.
I'm sure we will. Thank you. So yes, we have no video next week. We're having 2 weeks off over Easter, but we'll be back 2 weeks afterwards. But we are meeting on Zoom this Tuesday at 7:30. So we will see you then. Bye.